Hey everyone, so an old video created by Comrade Hakim has been making rounds again, titled Socialism Gives a Better Quality of Life, which I have a video refuted, but then I realized I never mirrored that video refuting it, and because I don't have a new video done yet, I figured I could just re-upload this for the time being. Why I decided to cut in here and announce this was because FNet, the project which I started in response to the government power grab, which was proposed as a way to stop online censorship that's being referred to as the Internet Bill of Rights, which actually just gives the FCC full control over the internet and will actually become the very internet fascism that the people who support it are afraid of. Yeah, well, FNet is finished, and the download link will be located in the description of this video. For those of you who are unaware, FNet is a new internet protocol which was modeled after the blockchain of a cryptocurrency. You need to buy a mesh network to run it, which will set you back about $150, but it connects to the internet based on cryptography, and its network doesn't have a host server and is structured based on a series of receiver nodes sent back and forth to other FNet connected mesh networks. In short, it's not possible to track your internet connection. You don't need an ISP to connect to the internet. It consequently makes the internet impossible to regulate, and it will kill any chance of the government ever regulating or censoring the internet again, as well as any tech giants. It comes with everything you need to install it, plus instructions. Anyway, onto the video.
Hello. Today I'll be discussing a 1986 paper written by Shirley Saraceto, a professor of sociology at California State University, Long Beach, and Dr. Howard Waitzkin, University of California Professor of Medicine and Social Sciences. The title of this paper is Economic Development, Political Economic System, and the Physical Quality of Life. Now, the conclusion of this paper is, as expected, that socialism provides a better quality of life than capitalism.
So, a viewer of mine recently sent me this video made by Comrade Hakim, in which the claim and the title were enough to make my bullshit detector fly off the charts. Socialism providing a better quality of life than capitalism. We have actual scientific, historical, and empirical data which shows us that this literally cannot be possible. Without price ratios, it's not possible to properly allocate resources, since there's no supply and demand that makes heads or tails of how to distribute resources. There's no incentive to work under socialism, there's no innovation because there's no incentive to work, so if your means of production break down, you're absolutely fucked. And guess what? Under socialist regimes, the means of production tend to break down within the first year or so because the communal ownership takes away any incentive to upkeep their factories, since there's no private ownership. See the Black Sea, where the Soviet Union harvested mackerel before the start of Russia's transition to socialism and after the Soviet Union collapsed, for instance. And that's assuming that said society even lasted 10 years, considering that most socialist experiments collapse in under the first 5 due to the previously cited problems, and those aren't even all the problems. So naturally, when I see a paper which claims that socialist societies are better off than capitalist ones, I react in the same way as if someone were to just have told me that they had just thrown a rock and it didn't fall to the ground because gravity doesn't exist. And I was correct to be suspicious, because this paper is nothing but lies and propaganda. Because the first thing that you see is which countries the study is using to measure a capitalist economy in Appendix A, which is where it immediately falls apart. According to the study, any market economy is a capitalist free market economy. Technically, there are no capitalist economies in the world, since all countries have government and therefore inherently have restrictions to their property and how they can associate with it, and restrictions to how they can associate in general. This being aside from the monopolization, inflation, and artificial scarcity created by the states driving up prices of commodities, so they aren't even capitalist in function. But to really drive home the point, the study includes Iran, Iraq, Algeria, Brazil, Brazil, Mexico, Portugal, Argentina, Chile, South Africa, Uruguay, and Venezuela as capitalist economies. It's not even a country-to-country comparison like North to South Korea. They basically just fudged their numbers to fit a narrative. And yes, in the very first paragraph of the study, the authors explicitly make it clear that the purpose of the study was to create a partisan defense of socialism. So this is not a non-partisan study. The authors created this with the very specific intention to spread a narrative.
But wait! There's more!
The study's method of measuring a nation's economy and the average wealth of its citizens is based strictly on its GNP per capita, which can pretty much disregard this entire section of the study, since GNP per capita isn't analogous to a measurement of how wealthy a population on average is. Instead, what GNP per capita measures is a national wealth equality, and, of course, income equality or inequality is irrelevant to how the quality of life under that country is, since wealth distribution is individualistic. The individual can choose how to spend their money or to save it up. Just to put into perspective how terrible it is to try and compare GNP per capita and use that as a measurement to how well a nation's economy is doing, Mexico has a higher GNP per capita than South Korea. Using a GNP per capita to measure an economy's wealth makes the base assumption that an economy is a zero-sum system, where if people in higher income brackets have more than people in lower income brackets, then the people in the lower income bracket are directly disadvantaged as a result of the people in the higher income brackets having more. Capital, fortunately, is not a static figure. Capital increases as the size of the economy increases, since there are simply more commodities and money being exchanged. The study's PQL, or physical quality of life, is taken from World Bank, and World Bank receives their figures directly from the governments they're sampling and doesn't actually take any of the data from surveying themselves. And socialist regimes are kinda infamous for fudging their figures or outright lying about the quality of life in their countries, so this data is fundamentally unreliable. It basically boils down to the government's word over observable economic reality, and I gotta tell you, as a rational thinking person, I believe in the objective data over the conflicting claims made by a coercive monopoly which has a motive to lie. So that's it for today's video. If you liked it, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.